G'day, this is Jim from Living Life Now. Today I'm coming to you from the east coast of Africa. We've just left the beautiful Cape Town and we're on our way to Namibia. The weather has been all over the place given that it's the southern hemisphere's winter, and we experienced multiple delays on our way to Cape Town. Our final delay was the morning going into port. We were delayed a couple of hours because of the strong winds entering the narrow channel into Cape Town. Obviously the strong winds can move us a little bit sideways being a big sail, and the captain wasn't prepared to take a risk with our safety, which is the right thing to do. Today I'll take you through the options we considered before taking you through how we spent the 2 days and overnight in Cape Town. So probably the most popular attraction in Cape Town is Table Mountain and the cable car. When choosing this ahead of time, you must be aware it's very weather dependent. And unfortunately, the weather changes very quickly on Table Mountain. And again, unfortunately, the weather did not play ball with us this time till late in the afternoon. Boulder Beach, an hour south of Cape Town, is another great option to see the penguins, but we preferred other options this time around. Now, the wineries were very tempting. Multiple quality wineries exist about 20k plus out of town in some sensational countryside. But this time we decided to give our liver a break and have a day off the vino. Robben Island, the historical prison for Nelson Mandela, usually have 4-hour ferry and tours available. Although at our time of visiting, the island was closed for restoration. In the end, the decision was a no-brainer for us. We definitely wanted to go on a safari and see some animals. We ended up booking the Aquila safari tour, which provided us with a 5-star experience, but wasn't cheap at about $480 a head for the day. So now I'll take you through our 2-day and overnight experience in Cape Town. As I've said previously, our arrival into Cape Town was delayed a couple of hours, and because of this saw a mad rush to get off the ship. Princess made the decision to allow all groups and individuals to disembark at once. This resulted in 4 lines going into one set of stairs. And to be honest, probably created a bit of risk to all those trying to meet their individual guides and tours. We were on the Princess Shore excursion safari, and once we got through the 4 lines going into one, as usual, the staff were there to point us in the right direction. That made finding our bus very easy. We then met our very knowledgeable tour guide and bus driver for the day, before settling into the bus for a just over 2-hour coach ride to Aquila Game Reserve for a 5-star safari experience. The bus trip to Aquila is a lot more scenic and interesting than I was thinking it would be. I never realised the amount of great properties and the natural beauty of the land. A lot of the way we were surrounded by mountains of rock, and we traversed one of the biggest one through an interesting 5 or 6k tunnel. And as we moved along our trip, the landscape continually changed until we got to the landscape that you usually associate an African safari with. We arrived at our destination, Aquila. Because we were 2 hours behind schedule, we were taken straight into lunch. Now this is a 5-star experience, but make no mistake, you're on a tourist conveyor belt here. And the people that work at Aquila are very well trained and very personal and really make you feel special. You're welcome with a glass of your favourite stuff, whether that be sparkling wine in our case, or a Merlot, or even a beer. Straight in your hand, so you can relax. Dry white sparkling. That's me. Cheers, buddy. Thank you. Once we found ourselves a table at the food trough, we made our way to the smorgasbord, where they had a fine selection of food. There were multiple meat selections, there was multiple vegetables. They had stuff for cheese platters, they had fruits, they had salads, they had ice creams, you name it, they had it. So you definitely won't go hungry on a day at Aquila. Here we are at Aquila Safari Park. Who would have ever thought it would be like 10 degrees? But anyway, Here we are, having some lunch, getting ready to go on our safari, see some animals. Once we had our lunch, I had a quick look around the lodge's surroundings, and yeah, it'd be very good for an overnight stay here. It looked quite luxurious, as it is a resort and spa as well. Once we finished lunch, we made our way to the Jeep Safari. Now, I think there was about 16 to 18 people per Jeep, and our driver was named Josh. Now, I've never met a bad Josh, so I was quite comfortable from the beginning. Now, we signed the indemnity forms, had the safety talks, and made our way into the park. And Josh gave us a very good rundown right from the word go.
Parts inside the vehicle and voices as low as possible. Please do enjoy it, and thank you very much.
And first up, not long into the tour, we saw a giraffe. Seeing the giraffe was kind of mind-blowing. It was just natural and graceful. To see an animal in its own environment, there was a calmness, and it was a little bit surreal. Our next spot was a group of ostriches that appeared to be in an emu parade. Our next sighting was a herd of zebras hanging around with a rhinoceros. Oh, let's just call it a bloody rhino. Hang around with a rhino and its baby. What Josh told us was that the rhinos like hanging out with the zebras because the rhinos have bad eyesight and the zebras have pretty good eyesight, and rhinos can get quite protective and charge on the occasion. Although this particular rhino had its horn kind of culled to protect it from poachers, which is sad because the horn really is just it's just hair, basically hair and protein. And when you cull back the horn of a rhino, you also cull back a bit of its attitude, which for a rhino or a male, it's having your horn cut back wouldn't be pleasant. We saw a baboon, but that was no big deal. I see enough of them at work. We then spotted some buffalo before having an amazing experience with some elephants. Now, in 2002, Aquila became the first private reserve in the Western Cape to successfully introduce the elephants. Initially, the elephants and the rhino had some standoffs, but now seem to be getting on well over the 10,000 hectares of land. Most recently, in 2021, they introduced two 14-year-old male elephants. One was orphaned, and the other one was rehabilitated into the wild after being born in captivity. It's good to know that your dollar goes into some conservation efforts of these beautiful animals. Next, we entered the dedicated sanctuary valley to meet the king of the jungle, the lion. At Aquila, they live in a 1,000-hectare sanctuary area, as the lions at Aquila are rescued from the hunting industry, where they were bred in captivity solely to be hunted. The enclosures are necessary since the lions lack the instinct to hunt wild prey or fend for themselves. These are amazing creatures to see in their natural environment. Although they probably appear a little bit overweight, they're fed regularly, about weekly, we were told. The experience you will receive at the park is a little bit between a zoo and the wild, but all in all, it is still an amazing experience. We also got to see some antelope, some springbok, and some native lavender. Our final pass by in the game reserve was the watering hole. The watering hole is home of 6 hippos, and the restored wetland area is reviving the species that was extinct in the Western Cape by the 1800s. In recent time, a baby hippo was born, and a rogue bull hippo had to be removed from the park because he was territorial and tried to take the baby hippo out. Hippos spend about 16 hours submerged to keep them cool, and at the beginning, all that they appeared like is rocks in the watering hole. But just when we were about to leave, we saw them come up and have a bit of a Barney and a bit of a yawn. Unfortunately, the tour had to come to the end, so we said goodbye to our guide Josh, Had a quick look at the souvenir shop, boarded the bus for our trip back to Cape Town. We got back to Cape Town about 7:15 and we were still on a bit of a high. So we met some friends of ours and wandered to the V&A waterfront. Now the V&A waterfront it's a very safe area for tourists, lots of security, lots of shops, lots going on. On this particular night it was pretty busy. There was a game between the Springboks and the Barbarians that had just concluded, and people were spilling out of the stadium and heading to the local pubs down the V&A. The V&A is only 5 or 10 minute walk from the ship, so it was good just to walk around that night and take in the vibe of the place. As I said, it's very safe and it's a must do when coming to Cape Town. After a bit of an explore, a bit of a shop, a bit of coffee, we made our way back to the ship. The next morning, we woke up nice and early and headed out, and the weather was still lousy. Still fog and rain over Table Mountain, but we decided to get the ho-ho. We transversed through the terminal again, which had some ATMs, an information centre, and it was a little less hectic and crowded this time. We hopped on a shuttle that took us to the waterfront, to the office of the ho-ho, which is near the aquatic aquarium and the watershed. The watershed's great for shop. We purchased some pretty cheap tickets to go on the Red Line. That was a city tour that took us to the base of the Table Mountain cable car, in the hope that the weather might clear, but it was very unlikely, but we decided to do it anyway. The city tour on the ho-ho gave you a general feel of the beaches, the affluent areas, the long street and generally, but didn't give us an in-depth feel, but we got the idea in lousy weather. After the ho-ho, we stopped at the V&A food market called the Time Out Market in Cape Town. It's situated in the historic old power station and showcases heaps of food stalls, and you can get from sushi to Durban curry. It's got bars, craft beer and wines. Great place. The V&A is a great place to walk around. There's so much to do and see. You could spend a day just walking the V&A. The V&A has something for everyone. There's something there for kids, there's something there for adults, there's something there for shoppers. We spent a few hours looking around the V&A waterfront and had a very good look. And in our opinion, there was 2 standout tourist shops, and that's probably the Trading Post. Massive amount of stock in this store. If you can't find something in there, there's something wrong with you. And pretty good price point. The other one was the Watershed. Now, the Watershed is a real standout. It has some really quality artisans and crafts from the South African people. And of course the price point represents this. As shopping becomes thirsty work and you work up a bit of an appetite, we decided to stop at the Oyster Bar and sit outside to enjoy the ever developing view over Table Mountain as the clouds finally started to lift. Unfortunately, the weather and visibility became just about perfect, about 2 hours before we had to be back on the ship. But them's the breaks. Better to see it for a short time than not at all. We headed back to the ship, and as I said, it's only about a 5 to 10 minute walk, and it was lovely in the sunshine. The view from the port and the back of the ship was pretty good, so we settled in there to enjoy sail away. As the sun went down, I joined some friends, Phil and Anne, and the silhouette of Table Mountain in the backdrop created a fantastic view as we parted Cape Town.
And now the cranes are actually melting in.
I would highly recommend enjoying sail away from the aft of the ship, as it's quite surreal and tranquil on a clear night. So here is 30 seconds of sail away without me gibbering over the top.
That is a good score.
Anyway, if you're considering Cape Town for a holiday or a cruise visit, I would highly recommend it. All I wish is I had more time there. There is so much to see. The culture is fascinating and the place is dead set awesome, and the people are as well. Anyway, if you enjoyed this, give it the old thumbs up and we'll see you next time. Uru.